Hello and welcome to another free art lesson with John Hitselberger. Today I'm going to be illustrating a couple techniques for adding shading to your drawings. The first one that we're going to go over with is cross-hatching, and this will work either with pencil or with ink, which is the case that I'm using here. I'm going to start out in this section here. I've got a cube already drawn out, and I've already weighted the lines a little bit on the sides, and I'm going to go a little bit furthermore to kind of creating that three-dimensional illusion by now like shading these three planes. So because my lines are darker over here, that means I've decided that my light source is coming from this direction. And I'm going to say it's predominantly hitting the top face of this cube, followed secondary by this side face. And lastly, the one that's kind of tucked away here in the shadows is the third face. So all I'm really doing here is just making a series of parallel lines. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this front face of the cube that's facing a little bit more towards the light. And I'm going to do it a little bit on the top here too, but I'm going to space the lines out much further away from each other than I did down here. So now we have a face on top that appears a little bit lighter than these two, but you still really can't tell the difference between face 1 here and face 2. So I'm going to go ahead and come back, do a second set of lines, just kind of going in a different direction on this back section of the cube here. I might even throw in a few more just to kind of darken it up a little bit. I always thought it looked kind of neat to make this top corner here, the one that's closest to the light on the dark side, sort of the darkest point of like the whole plane, and then gradually have it fade out a little bit as it goes that way. And might add a little bit more cross-hatching to that face of the cube. So now we're left with pretty much like three distinct faces on this cube here, using just only a series of parallel lines. The next method of shading that I'm going to show you here is pencil blending. I've already put in this sphere here. I've done it in ink, but I'm going to go ahead and take this is a 6B pencil. It's a very soft lead, so when I lay it down on the paper here, it goes on very smoothly. It makes a very dark line, but the graphite that I'm putting down will also smudge much more readily than a harder lead pencil would. Again, my light source is coming from this direction, so right here would be the overall the brightest part of the sphere. So I'm going to go ahead and start. This is kind of starts out the same way as cross-hatching does. A series of parallel lines. But I'm going to take a blending stump here now and go over the top of what I've done, and just sort of, this will help just kind of run it all together so you get a more even gradation than you would with cross-hatching. Let's sort of start out in the area that I've done darkest first, and then just kind of push some of the graphite out to the areas of the sphere that are hit by more light. So I've pretty much done all I want to do here. As you can see on the sphere now, there's a point where the light is predominantly hitting, but I've also left kind of a lightened area back here, and what that is basically representing is light passing by the sphere, hitting whatever the surface is, and bouncing back and kind of backlighting the back end of it. All right. The next shading technique that I'm going to go over is pointillism. It's basically just a series of dots. I'm gonna it's kind of a time-consuming method, so I'm just gonna do it really quick and dirty here. But just depending on how close to or how far away from each other you space out your dots, it gives the illusion of darkened areas and lightened areas. So I'm starting out here with the darkest end of the sphere. Again, my light source is coming from the top right corner. I'm just going to shade all four of these things the same way. This works best with pen and ink. The pointillism method, that is. So overall, I've kind of put in this sort of crescent moon shape right here. That's going to represent the darkest part. And then from there, I'll just kind of branch out, but try and spread these dots out a little bit further. And just gradually increase the distance between them. If you get too close together, it doesn't really matter. It's really hard to make a mistake doing pointillism. And up here, I have very few at all. Just gonna fill that in a little bit more. So we've got our gradation moving from dark to light. And again, I'll put a few down here. Again, that is the backlit portion of the sphere. Okay. And what I want to do last here is it's kind of the ink equivalent of the pencil blending. I'm going to do an ink wash. What I've got right here are this is acrylic ink, black. I've got two pulls of it right here. This is probably diluted maybe with about 50% water. So dip my brush in that there. Start laying it in. Because it's diluted, it goes on kind of gray, sort of a warm gray, it looks like. Get rid of a little bit of the excess moisture on this paper towel here. Go in very lightly and do this frontmost face. And I'm going to leave the top one alone. So already we've got three distinct faces on this cube where the light is hitting most, middle, and least. And this one right here, this is same ink, it's just I didn't dilute it. So I'm going to go back and work over this dark area here, put in some lines and texture, that sort of thing. And there you have it, ink wash, pointillism, pencil blending, and cross-hatching. Thanks for watching.